Hey, Nick.
Hi, Lance.
It's really late.
It's so late. Why did we do this so late?
So, let's talk about some records. So, you see on YouTube all these top 10 lists of these records, that records. Well, we're going to shake it up and do a top 12 list.
Top 12.
Because I couldn't narrow it down to 10.
Tranquilly. Shine.
So these are my top 12 most valuable records according to Discogs median price. Now there are a few caveats. I do have a handful of mobile fidelity, like MOFI records, original master recordings.
Sure.
I didn't include those in the list. And then I have a couple box sets that I didn't include in the list. So these are just straight up records.
We can do another video on MOFIs or whatever, original master recordings. But these are just straight records out of your personal collection, highest value.
Right. And let's get started. So the first one I have is Led Zeppelin, Later Days. Or Latter Days.
Latter Days? No, I think it's Later Days. Latter Days is something else.
So do you remember when this came out?
No, this is a Zeppelin comp. This was
This came out in 2000. There were two compilations that came out. There were Early Days and Later Days.
Okay.
Right, and this is the Later Days one. These are very rare on vinyl. You don't see them hardly at all.
Okay.
What's cool about this copy is it's mint condition and still sealed. So
presumed mint, as they say.
Right. You never know, and that's a good point. When you buy sealed records, they're probably going to be in pretty good shape, but they could be warped. You never know. There could be a crack in them or something.
There could be a manufacturer's defect, especially when you're talking about older. I would assume that they're getting into audiophile pressings around 2000 and that kind of stuff. So. But yeah, you always want to sort of take the sealed for what it's worth.
Right. So for Discogs, the median price is $89 with a high of 109. So there's not much.
Available on Discogs right now?
That's a good question. Let's check real quick.
Can you find this one?
There's like 5 for sale.
Okay.
But having a sealed one, it might be worth more.
Yeah, I would definitely. Discogs certainly likes to think so.
So this is cool. If you find one of these cheap, pick it up. It's really neat.
Snag that one for sure.
Next, we have Opeth Morning Rise. Check out that.
It's like a dual
two-tone brown
split.
I don't know if you can see it better like that, but. So
for people that don't know, Opeth is a little heavier band. Is that?
So, for a long time I was big into prog rock and prog metal, and Opeth is one of the premium modern prog rock bands out there today.
Okay.
They do have about half the time their vocals are death metal.
Okay.
And I'm not a big fan of death metal, but I love Opeth.
Okay.
It's weird. And they do have some albums that are all clean singing, and some are half and half, and some are pretty heavy.
Okay.
So, but their songs are brilliant. They're these long, proggy songs with lots of different parts and amazing musicianship. This particular record is one of their older ones. It's a European press, and it has that kind of brown and white, black and white vinyl to it. I bought this at a local record store, and I probably paid $30 to $40 for it. Actually, I can tell you exactly what I paid for it. I paid $34 for it. Yay, Discogs. At Bazaar here in Fort Collins. So, and for some reason, it just jumped up in value in the last year. Like I bought it a year ago.
Well, I think that's a good indication. I think we all know that modern records have continued to sort of skyrocket in value, and I'm always a little bit flabbergasted when you're looking at vintage versus modern versus like how things raise in value. You're finding that a lot of the bang for your buck is coming in modern records.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And sometimes that's the case, and sometimes they don't do anything. But something like this, that's probably wasn't pressed a ton, and is a little more obscure. I mean, it's not super mainstream. Yeah, finding a copy of this is pretty cool.
You'll find that with like bands that sort of they come out and they put out their first or second album, and they do a small vinyl run, and then they blow up. So some bands that come to mind, Goose, Billy Strings, as of recent, they're repressing these guys' records, but they were like impossible to find because they were doing like small 500,000 record runs, and then they blew up. So I think that this may be something that falls from somewhere along the lines.
And this is one of their early ones. This pressing is 2013.
Okay.
So it's a few years old. I'm not sure if this is an original press though, but anyway, it's a beautiful record. So the median price is $91.55, and then the high is $138, $139.
Okay.
So yeah. Cool. Well, speaking of price jumps in records,
I know this record.
Let's talk about.
I sold this record to a guy in the herd.
Why don't you tell us about this one?
Oh, this is Daft Punk's Random Access Memories. As we know via the sort of enigmatic video that was posted on the internet a couple of months ago, Daft Punk is no more. They've exploded in a desert somewhere, maybe on Tatooine. I'm not really sure where they blew up. But if you don't know, Daft Punk is one of those just incredibly influential, and their influence could not be understated on popular music. This is Random Access Memories. This particular album is known for Daft Punk's collaboration with Pharrell Williams on the hit song Get Lucky. And so when I came across this record, it's just not something that's like something I would listen to on a regular basis. And there was a person in our group that loves Daft Punk. And so we had a conversation. I sold him this record for $29.
Wow. And what's the median price on this? $93?
With a max price of a high price of $200 on these guys.
I bought this brand new 2 years ago. Brand new at just a local, not even a local record store, at a big box store for $30.
Yeah, I think that's about what it was going.
Yeah, this was one of the first records I bought.
That was for you.
For me, yeah. I was like, I'm getting this one.
Yeah, and like I said, you told me that you used to listen to this on repeat at work, and like things that you would like. So people, music is subjective. That's one of the beautiful things about music. It's like, what do you like? Go get that on vinyl, whatever it is. But that being said, like, yeah, this was one that I had in my collection, and I sort of let it go, and I'm sort of regretting it now. But that's
because it just jumped up after that announcement, like that.
So they'll repress all Daft Punk stuff. I wouldn't stress about it. That's another thing. It's like Ween is almost completely out of press. They just repressed Mollusk, and I think you can get Guava now. But I mean, people start to get, as vinyl becomes more and more popular, people are going to go down those rabbit holes, and all of a sudden there's 20 people down that rabbit hole when there was just one person down that rabbit hole before. So now
everybody's fighting over those rare records.
Those pressings are going a little bit quicker. Everything's a pre-order now, so that if you don't get in on the pre-order, then you miss the whole thing completely. So you just got to be on top of it. Get on your mailing list, and make sure that you're following these artists, because they will do represses. I mean, Tom Petty just did that big repress of Wildflowers.
Yep.
And, so they'll get pressed again.
All right. So next up, I don't know if you have to blur any of this out, but
I think this is
it's good enough. It's PG-13.
Our channel's not for kids.
This is the Queens of the Stone Age first album.
It's self-titled?
Self-titled. It's 2 LPs. It's it's the first one that came out. And I guess there wasn't a lot of pressings of this one, kind of along the same lines. And this one's hard to find. There's even an alternate cover that is slightly more R-rated.
That we couldn't include in the show.
No, and that I don't have because it's even that much more rare. And that goes for quite a bit more. But this one right here, its median price is around $100, and it goes up to about a $140 on the high end of it. So yeah, I bought this.
This is a repress. Or was this never? Some of these records were never pressed on vinyl.
I don't think it was represses. This is 2011.
Okay.
So I think this was an original press, or close to it anyway. I paid a whopping $6.50 for this record because I bought a collection from a guy, and yeah, this was in there, and it was pretty cool find. And I went back and forth if I want to sell it or keep it, but I ended up keeping it because I have a few other Queen's records.
Awesome, that's a cool one.
Here's a big boy.
This is one that everybody looks for. I don't think any vinyl collection is really even that complete without it. But it doesn't always have to be on.
So ask me what's so cool about this particular present.
Hey, what's so cool about this version of Kinda Blue?
This is a 1959 original press, mono, 6i Columbia House.
So a lot of people will address the eyes on the old Columbia records, and some of the early '60s were on 2 eyes, but the ones that came slightly before that were the 6i pressing.
Yep.
Why is that special?
Because that means this is a first press.
So if you come across a red label Columbia Miles Davis Kinda Blue and it has the 2 eyes, it's a repress. It's a very early repress,
and it's still a valuable record.
Sure,
like
absolutely.
Those are 50, 60.
Sure, but what's this guy go for?
So, what Discogs has for the median price is $100.
I think that's low.
But that's pretty low because most of these that you find are really beat up.
Yeah.
This one is a strong VG plus, the record. The cover is a little worn. I'd say it's a VG, maybe
that's a VG.
Yeah.
You're not getting any bends or any creases in here in the corners.
Yeah. So when you look up what's been sold and what's what they go for in this condition, you're looking at around the $300 range. Because you want a nice clean copy of Kinda Blue, and finding it on mono in this condition is very hard to find.
I would agree with that. And again, the mono being key there, it's just so tough, man. You gotta think about blues and jazz. People were collecting it 20, 30 years before people were collecting classic rock records. You know what I mean? So now if you're having trouble finding your Zeppelin and your Beatles records, imagine how tough it is to find this stuff. Because this was very collectible back in 1960 whatever, 1970 whatever.
Yeah, this is 1959. I also have a 1970 something repress of this, and it's a stereo pressing. And that record's still $50, $60.
And how's that sound comparatively?
Obviously you can tell that you don't have, that it's stereo versus mono.
Sure.
But they both sound great, but this one sounds really amazing. The guy I bought this from, I bought a whole collection of jazz records. He took super good care of them. He bought them like when they were brand new. Like a lot of them looked like they hadn't even been played. So this one had been played. He loved it, but you look at it and it still has that sheen on the record.
Well,
it's really cool. This guy took care of his stuff.
It goes to show you that if you can take care of these things, and if you do take care of them, that they can last not only your lifetime, but another lifetime and maybe a lifetime after that. So
I'm kind of embarrassed to say what I paid for this record.
I think that this was one that you paid a little bit. Was this from the Dark Horse?
No, I bought a whole collection.
Oh, that's right, you said a collection.
Yeah, I bought the whole collection.
You bought another pressing of this that was kind of expensive from Dark Horse too.
No, that was me.
That wasn't you?
No. I think I paid $2.50 for this record.
For this one right here?
Yeah.
It's,
I hope.
I'll tell you what.
I hope Gene's not watching.
I'll double your money, sir.
I don't think so. But no, I bought like 200 records from the guy, and I gave him a big bunch of money, and this was just in there.
And
so
I'm sure there's a little hump again.
No, it was a pretty good collection.
Stan Getz, so it's good.
All right.
That's cool, man.
Well, let's move on to one that
I will mention that we've talked about it before briefly, but they just did a whole new rerun of Blue Note did a whole new rerun of blue vinyl, iridescent blue vinyl last year, and Kind of Blue was on that too. So that's the copy.
Isn't that what you have?
That's what I got. Yeah, and
I bet those sound really good too.
They sound great. The mastering on it's fantastic, and it looks really cool. So if you can't get a 6-inch, go get yourself a $30 copy from the Blue Note represses.
Yeah, go for it. You just got to have that record.
It's just good. It's really good. It's dinner music.
What do we got here?
There's all these Japanese letterings. Talk to me a little bit about why Japanese pressings are sought after.
I think, well, one, they're just cool.
Yeah.
You know, because this is called an obi strip, for those who don't know. So the obi strip just kind of has information and kind of shows that it's a Japanese record. Let me show you the label, though. This is a label you just don't see on Dark Side of the Moon too often. Mm-hmm. So it's just different. It's a collector's item. You can see, you know, this one is in really good shape. The other thing is, a lot of people say, and I haven't done an apples to apples comparison yet, but the Japanese pressings do sound a little better than the US pressings. Why that is, I'm not really sure. Have you looked into that?
I think that people have found that the Japanese are just more meticulous in their
like their pressing plants
are more meticulous. They probably work more diligently to make sure that product is up to snuff. I mean, Japanese people are the audiophile of audiophiles. You know? They're the people that people here are sending JBL speakers to them now because they want that sound. And like, it's crazy. There's a whole crazy market of people sending JBL speakers to Japan today.
Wow.
So I think from what I've understood and the way I've always heard it is, you know, Japanese pressings tend to be the best pressing of a record that you're going to find, followed by Germany, followed by Europe/America. And I think that's a good rule to go by. I think Germans are pretty meticulous in their pressing plants as well. So if you can find a Japanese pressing, get it.
They're just really cool. They're collectible. I have a nice little collection of like Beatles Japanese press. I have an Aerosmith.
I got an Alice Cooper that I just picked up that was a Japanese pressing, and it doesn't have the obi strip, but it's, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and you can still tell by looking them up. So I went through a couple of like, which Dark Side of the Moon do I want? I landed on this one. I also have the Mobile Fidelity, the MOFI original master recording. And those are my two. This is going to be my main player, and then that one's kind of my audiophile one. But yeah, and it sounds great.
I still just have
outstanding sound.
Pressing of this record. So American.
All right.
I'll keep looking for it.
Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. This one's interesting. So this is Rockarola by Judas Priest.
Okay.
There's a couple different covers for this record. The one with the bottle cap is the most sought after one. This one in particular has some specific printing on the back, which I'd have to look up again, and it shows that it's a specific press. That's kind of rare.
Pressing,
yeah, it's just sort of it's not really a misprint, but it's just a different variant of it, and it caused it to be a valuable record. So this one goes for about $110 up to like $300. And I bought a big collection from a guy, and he had like every Judas Priest album, and this was in there. And I'm like, oh, good, the first one. And I looked it up, and I checked, double checked, triple checked. It's this one, and it's a pretty valuable record. Wow. So it's kind of neat to have in the collection.
What would be the median on that one?
110, and then it goes up to about 300.
Oh, okay. Cool. Keep an eye out for that one, folks.
This one's a fun story. Chevelle, Wonder What's Next. I enjoy Chevelle. They're a pretty good, I guess, I don't know if they're new metal or just modern metal band. And they're still putting out stuff. They put out a new record this year. They're an amazing live band. Very intense and just fun.
Where'd you catch them at?
I saw them at, it was a festival at the Fiddler's Green down in Denver. And it was a bunch of shows, and I think the headliner was Smashing Pumpkins, but they were in there. It was an all-day festival sort of thing.
Not a super loved venue in the Denver area, but mainly because they have no parking lot scene. But actually, the remodel at Fiddler's is pretty nice.
Cool.
They're doing good stuff.
I haven't been there in a while. So, what's cool about this one is oh, white vinyl. So I found this. This again was when I first started getting into vinyl. I saw this, and I found it in a little vintage shop here in Fort Collins, and they wanted, I think, like $35 for it. And I'm like, I was new at this. I'm like, I can't spend $35 on a record.
On one record.
So I kept thinking about it, and I finally went back, and I asked them if they would take 25. And then we settled on 28. So I felt very powerful. So I got it for $28.
Okay.
This sucker has shot up over the last 2 years, and it's now medium price about $110.
I think that's not uncommon, man. I think that the fans of a band like this, they're gonna go out and they're gonna buy the record, and then it's just not gonna be out of press. And then the fans that come behind those people that get into vinyl are gonna be like, well, why can't I get this record?
Right, and having it on the white vinyl and everything is just kind of a cool find. So I'm really happy to have this. This is my favorite album of this band.
Okay.
And so.
Cool.
What's next? Oh, this one's fun. This is actually my son's record. Not that he is really into record, but we ended up getting a few game soundtracks. This is a soundtrack to the game Minecraft.
Yep.
So I don't know if you have any video game soundtracks, but video game soundtracks are one of those things. You got to get them when they're released, and then when they're not, if you miss out, they just shoot up.
Yeah.
They shoot up like crazy. Yeah. And something like Minecraft is a very, very popular game.
Yeah.
So I paid, where did I buy this? I bought it off of Discogs about a year ago. And yeah, I showed it, so it's the green vinyl. I paid $40 for it.
Okay.
And I was like, that's a lot, but it's not bad. It's for my son.
Sure.
Yeah, medium price right now is about $135.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, I know. I was just over at my buddy Mike's house, who's also in the herd, and he was playing like a Zelda remix.
Oh yeah.
It's really good. I'll try to get the info and put a little bloop on the screen here so you guys know what we're talking about. But there's a Zelda sort of DJ Oscarna kind of thing that's like out there now. That's pretty good. So yeah, the video game soundtracks are a popular subgenre, and again, it's like how many ways can vinyl intercede with different aspects of your life? So it's like you're really into gaming, that's great. I have people that hit me up for horror soundtracks and different things like that.
Yeah.
And it's just different ways that vinyl can just enrich your life, and this is just one more example.
Yeah.
Of that.
So if you find a video game soundtrack for a popular game, snag it, because it might be hard to get. Ooh, this is one of my favorites on the list.
Dude, getting down there.
Pink Floyd, Division Bell.
I don't really like it because Roger Waters is in the band.
This is a great album. But this version of it, this is an original 1994 pressing. Wait.
Wait.
On blue vinyl.
See, there wasn't a lot of colored vinyl happening in the 90s.
There wasn't a lot of vinyl happening in the 90s.
We've talked about that, I think, a little bit here and there. But yeah, I guess, at the peak of vinyl in the late 70s, there's something like 178 million records being pressed every year.
Right.
By the mid 90s, it sort of dribbled down to a trickle of just a couple million, maybe by the end of the 2000s. By the end of the 90s into the early 2000s, there was really maybe a couple million records being produced in this country. And certainly this was one of those few million produced that year. And wow, how did you even find this?
Oh my gosh. I ran into a guy who was selling a stack of records, and they were all high-end records. He had a bunch of the MOFI records. He had a lot of good stuff, and he just was down on his luck and needed to pay rent or whatever. So he wanted to unload these records, and this was in that pile. And I was pretty excited to pick it up, and So I think with that whole deal, I ended up paying about $37 for it, which is, not nothing. But
especially when you're buying more than a couple and you're trying to get a deal on a full deal or whatever.
Yeah, I ended up with over a good chunk of cash for that pile, but it's still...
All those OMRs, man, they all go out of press. And you can't get them anymore.
Yeah. So it's worth it to invest in something like this. And this was in there, and I looked it up and like, oh, this is the original press. So it medium's about 138, and the high end is around 300. So, and that's actually not much for popular 90s records. So if you find like a Nirvana or Pearl Jam original press, you're looking at $300-$400, big money.
Yeah, some Sub Pop records were valuable.
Yeah. So this is just a cool find for sure. Ooh, we
got
got
a couple here.
Yeah, we got some jazz. Some more jazz. Horace Silver. This one is a little deceptive on Discogs. They have it for a medium price of $215. But when I looked at it, there was only like 2 copies sold. There was one sold for like $40 and one sold for like $400.
Okay.
So the medium just was like right in the middle there.
Yeah.
But I looked up like other very similar pressings to this, and they go for around 100, 150.
That makes sense.
What's cool about this is it is Horace Silver and Art Blakey.
Yeah.
And it's on that cool blue note. Yeah.
So I think this is like, first of all, always be looking for that. I mean, even into the 80s and 90s, like the 80s, recording jazz and sort of funky blues stuff. But look at this cover. This is a cover that you may have flipped past in a bin yourself a dozen times. You see stuff like this and maybe it doesn't grab your attention. I would recommend that you stop next time you see something that looks like this. Big bold cover, a couple of jazz names you could recognize, and it's on a Blue Note recording a label. It's probably worth your time.
Yeah.
So I found that this is stuff you can find in Goodwill sometimes.
Yeah.
These are the type of pressings that go, and not everything that is valuable says Coltrane or Miles Davis on it.
Right.
So.
No, and honestly, it's really good jazz.
Yeah.
So sometimes they're not super valuable.
Sure.
But guess what? If they have names like Art Blakey and Horace Silver and some of these
Stanley Turrington and all these other guys. I mean, there's so many great
Cannonball Adderley.
Yeah, man.
Pick it up and give it a listen, man. You won't be disappointed.
Especially if you're spending $2 at a Goodwill, you can always go turn in the record somewhere else.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least, you know what this one is, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've talked about this one before.
Yes, but this is it. This is the one.
So, this is the Beatles yesterday and today. And why is this record worth anything? I have this.
You don't have this.
This is the Butcher cover, but it's been plastered over. Tell us what it is.
Yeah, so the Butcher cover, when this record was released, it was released with a different cover on it. And the cover was quite controversial. And I'm going to go and show you a picture of the cover.
So controversial. Put this right here.
Let's put it here. Just hold it there. Yeah, so that was what the original cover looked like. Obviously, this is not that record. This is just a reprint of that artwork in the record called Beatles Rarities. But I'm just showing you what there is there. So what they did is there was such an uproar about this artwork that they recalled all these records.
Yeah. And I mean, they're just some good old boys, some mop tops having a good time there. I don't see what the trouble is. I don't see what the problem is.
Let's say some people were a little miffed about this. So yeah, they recalled it, and what they did is they ended up pasting this piece of artwork over it. Capitol
Records literally sent these out, a number of these out to radio stations, most of them promo copies and that sort of thing. And then they had to send letters out to all of them that said, "Please send it back." So that many of them did. Some of them did not. That's when the ones that did not are the ones where you can still see that cover intact.
Yeah.
This is tell me how you can tell that this is that.
All right. So right here, you can see a little shadow of a triangle And
it
what that is,
corresponds with Ringo's shoulder, right? Is that correct?
or the V-neck, of the black
yes, that's correct.
turtleneck.
So the triangle of his turtleneck. So
it's that art bleeding through this white portion of there. So if you find this album, look in this area right here and see if you see that triangle shadow.
And if you do, there's a good chance
that you hit the jackpot.
Hit something special. So what's this cover go for?
So I mean, it's really all over the place. These are very sought after. This is kind of the holy grail of Beatles records.
Sure.
Based on Discogs, the median price is $460.
Okay.
But honestly, it goes way up.
Conditions everything up.
Really, the condition of the record matters a little bit less than the condition of the cover. And this cover has some wear on it, but it's kind of one of those things. It's hard to put a price on. You have to find someone who wants. If you're trying to sell it, you have to find that person who wants it and figure out where they're at on it.
Sure.
But I've seen them go for thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and I've seen an average price in VG-ish condition is $1,500 is a good place to start for just the sleeve.
Yeah,
so,
yikes.
You're talking about a really valuable piece of memorabilia and something that has that lore, it has that story.
It's a piece of history.
Yeah, and it's something that you can literally hang on your wall or have on your shelf. And
I don't listen to this record.
No.
I have another copy that I listen to.
How's the condition of the vinyl itself?
It's VG. It's not the best.
Okay.
But,
It's a player.
And that's why I ended up keeping it. Like, I really went back and forth if I wanted to sell this thing or keep it or anything. But I'm like, this is just neat. I'm just going to hold on to it. And maybe one day I'll sell it if I need to, but I don't see why I need to.
Yeah, I find myself doing that too sometimes, where it's like, you're like, I found another David Bromberg album, and then you look on the shelf, I have 4 other David Bromberg albums, why would I get rid of this one? So, anyway, it's just one of those things where this is an interesting piece of history, and it's something that transcends vinyl, it transcends music in a lot of ways, because there's such a story, there's such a history with this particular record. So
yeah.
Well, Lance, I want to thank you for taking the time to share with us this amazing bevy of your Sweet 12 records.
Yeah, I'm not trying to show off or anything. I just wanted a nice pile of records for us to talk about and
Sure.
and kind of discuss why they're cool and they're special.
You could have some guy over here that has 12 records that are worth $15,000.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever, but that's not really what it's about. The other thing that's interesting to me, and I will point this out, this guy found all these in the wild. This isn't him going and ordering these online. This isn't him paying top dollar. A lot of these he paid very little money for. And
I bought a box of records and this was in there. I paid $1.50 for this record.
Yeah, so I want that to be a lesson to the people that are out there still digging, and they're, I sometimes will get frustrated with a lack of, if I'll go a month or two without scoring a good box of records or something like that, and I'll get kind of bummed out. But I'm just like, you got to know, man, there's always more records out there.
They're out there.
And there's stuff like this that you could find for $1.50. So keep digging, keep doing the damn thing, and thanks for watching us. This sort of vinyl stuff, we're going to spin it off into another little mini series. We might call it My Aunt's Stash or Melted Wax, or I don't know. We're working on names, but anyway, it's just a chance for us to talk about what we're really passionate beyond the vintage audio. It's great to have a great system or whatever, but really this all comes down to vinyl records. So
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks.
I can see things that before I tried to